Good morning. Well, good morning and welcome, NCR. I extend congratulations on 50 years of truth-seeking, storytelling, community building, and peacemaking through excellent independent journalism. My name is Donna Carroll, and I'm the president of Dominican University, and I'm just delighted to host this extraordinary celebration. When friend of the university and NCR board member, Mary Jean Burke, right over there, approached me about 2 years ago with the idea of hosting NCR's anniversary celebration on campus. She came keenly aware of the deep resonance between the mission of NCR and the purpose of Catholic higher education. And I agreed immediately that the university environment would be a powerfully reinforcing place where the values of freedom, honesty, openness, and shared responsibility characterize both this setting and the National Catholic Reporter through its illustrious history. The theme selected for this anniversary celebration, New Faces, New Voices, New Ways of Being Church, an exploration of the American Catholic Church going forward, speaks to the vision that has fueled NCR throughout its remarkable history, and to the hope that we all share for our future. I look forward to the insights sure to emerge in our conversations today. Again, my hearty congratulations to the directors, publishers, editors, writers, staff, and especially to all of you, the readers of NCR, who make this celebration possible. Now, please join me in asking God's continued blessing on this community and especially on our gathering today. Let us pray. Almighty and Creator God, praise to you who called us into being and so called us into relationship with one another as sisters and brothers. We proclaim your loving kindness, for you have indeed always been with us, embracing us with your love and mercy. Gather us today from the north and the south, from the east and the west. Gather us to rejoice and to give thanks and to sing your praise. But also gather us to be challenged, to open our eyes and see new faces, to listen with new ears and hear new voices, to feel our hearts on fire for new ways of being church. Send your Spirit upon us today, so we may love the way that you love, so we may offer mercy as we have been given mercy, so we may work to build your reign of peace and justice together with all our sisters and brothers. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. And now I am pleased to present Caitlin Handel, CEO and President of the National Catholic Reporter, who will introduce today's events. Caitlin.
Thank you, Dr. Carroll, and thank you so much for your partnership in this very exciting day. We couldn't have done this without you or your staff, and this beautiful space that you've allowed us to use for this event is part of what's making this such a special day for all of us. Welcome to all of you. It is overwhelming to me, the response that we received for this event. We published it in June, and by mid-July, we were almost full, and by the end of the summer, we were full. We had to start turning people away, and it was a very hard decision to make. And in fact, we are allowing more than 100 people to be viewing this live on live stream. And I hope that they're out there, and if they are, we say hello to all of you too. This is not possible without all of you out there. It's not possible without the readership and the support and the family that you have given us. And so from the bottom of my heart and representing my staff, I say thank you very much. I am actually in the role of the announcer today, and I'm the person who's supposed to be watching the clock and making sure that we do this thing right. So I will start with basic announcements. The first one is that exits are in those green signs, and you can see them. For the bathroom situation, if you have issues with stairs, you can use the bathrooms at the end of the registration tables, and I know a lot of us were in there this morning, so we know where it is. There are also plenty of bathrooms on the upstairs, and then at the lunch break, we will be opening up some bathrooms in the downstairs area as well. So, you all have been handed brochures, I hope, booklets. On page 13, two very special people will find stickers, I hope. I hope this works. And one is for a one-year subscription to Celebration, our liturgy magazine, our once-a-month liturgy magazine, and the other one is for a one-year subscription to National Catholic Reporter. And if you already receive either one of those subscriptions, you may give this as a gift for somebody, and we hope you do. If you do find that you have a sticker, please let one of the staff at registration table know, and we will take care of you. This is our little tiny gift to you. And in the second half of this, after lunch, in the second half of the session, we will be having a question and answer session. So we have index cards in baskets located at entrances around the auditorium. Staff members are also will be walking around with index cards. What we're going to ask you to do is, as you're listening to the presenters today, please, if you think of a question, fill it out on your index card, drop it into a basket, hand it to a staff member, raise your arm and wave it, and somebody will come pick it perhaps up. And then what we'll do is at lunchtime we'll go through the questions and look for themes probably in some of the more interesting questions. Please, we do encourage this because we want this to be, as our dear Pope Francis says, a dialogue. Minor little thing, but we'll be recycling our name tags and our booklets. So at the end of this day, please drop them in baskets. And that is it for announcements. So at this point, I would like to introduce our longtime former editor and current publisher, Tom Fox.
So let me begin by sharing an open secret. NCR is family. And all of you here are part of that family. So as the day continues, treat each other as siblings. Hopefully, siblings that you care for. So we're going to begin today by showing you the core family of NCR in a video. Want you to meet some ordinary, extraordinary people. And welcome once again to the NCR 50th Anniversary Celebration Conference. And I'm speaking to you today from Midtown, Kansas City, Missouri, where this building has served as the international NCR headquarters since 1967. I want to take you into this building and introduce you to some of our employees.
Good morning. Are you Mr. Fox?
I am. Are you Mr. Landon Roland?
I am. Very glad to see you.
What are you doing here?
I'm here to celebrate along with many others our 50th anniversary of this fabulous huge drama.
Morning, Holy Father.
Hi, my name is Tina Padilla. I've been here with NCR 10 years, and I'm working with the Customer Service Department.
I want you to meet our business manager.
Hi, my name is Wally Ryder, and I have been here for 27 years. Go Royals!
Hi, I'm Dorothy Flemington. I'm working on my 5th year here at NCR. I pay the bills and I make sure our employees get paid too. They love me twice a month.
Hi, my name is Velva Dewberry. I've been at the National Catholic Reporter for 8 years. I help out in the advertising department, the circulation department, and wherever else is needed. Happy anniversary.
Hello, my name is Cameron, and I'm the advertising director. I have been here since 1988.
My name is Lennox, and today is my first day at NCR.
We've got a special treat for you. Come on, this way. Look what we have here.
Hi, I'm Vicki Brashears. I work at NCR in the advertising department. Have been here since 1968. Happy 50th anniversary, NCR.
This was our first floor. Let's go up to the second. Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our home at NCR. I understand you're doing a tour of the building. This is my office, and this piece of art is something that my sister painted when she was in college, and it speaks to me of the past, the present, and the future, and of women, and the grace of women, and I'm very proud of it because I love my sister very much, and I love being at NCR, and I'm grateful for all of you for viewing this video and for all of your supports. Thank you!
Hi, I'm Connie Stuckey. I'm Development Director here at NCR. I've been here for 11 years.
Hi, I'm Marge Gasnick. I've worked at NCR for 2 years, and I work in the development department with Connie. And you can make that check out to NCR. Thank you.
Let's go and see marketing.
Hi, I'm Sarah Wersinski. I'm the marketing manager at National Catholic Reporter. I've been here for 5 years. And this is Jennifer McDonald.
Hi, I'm Jennifer McDonald. I'm the part-time marketing coordinator at NCR. I've been here for just over a year and I love it. It's a great place to be.
Let's talk to our customer service staff.
Joe Shearhoff. I work in customer service and I've been here for 30 years.
Hello, my name is Peggy Mulvihill and I work for customer service. Show me the money. I've been here 2 weeks and I'm fortunate to be here.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I work in customer service and I have been here since September the 21st, 1987.
Come with me now to the 3rd floor, the heart of editorial. This is our editorial office. This is our editor.
Oh, I'm going to be talking to you live in a few minutes, but thanks for being with us today.
Hi, I'm Tracy Adel. Nice to meet you.
Hi, my name is Mick Forney. I'm a copy editor and web editor here at NCR.
I'm Teresa Malcolm. I'm the copy chief and special sections editor for the National Catholic Reporter. I started in June 1995, which means I've been here 20 years of NCR's 50 years.
I'm Beth Elliott at Bertelsmann Intern.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Abel. I'm the managing editor.
Hi, I'm Soleil Salgado. I'm a Bertelsmann Intern.
I'm Brian Roby, a staff writer.
This is the headquarters for Global Sisters Report.
Hi, I'm Mary Lou Nolan. I'm editor of Global Sisters Report. I've been here for almost 2 years. It's a great place to work, and happy anniversary.
Hi, I'm Jan Sabula. I'm a Franciscan sister. I'm U.S. liaison for Global Sisters Report. And we're really happy with how Global Sisters Report is reaching around the world.
Hi, I'm Pam Cohen, the managing editor at Global Sisters Report. What I do is I read and edit stories, and I work with writers to create the best stories that they can be. I've been with NCR for almost 4 years now.
Hi, I'm Donna Rujo, staff writer for Global Sisters Report. I've worked here for 1 year and 5 months.
Well, here we go. Our production staff, headed by the one and only
Tony Ortiz. Going on 29 years.
And are you having fun?
I love my job. I couldn't be happier. I love doing layouts. So there's our front page that we just finished.
Hi, my name's Alex. I've been at NCR for 13 years and I do maintenance.
Let's go up to the 4th floor.
Stephanie Simeone, Director of Mission here at NCR since January 2012. Thanks for coming here to Dominican, and thanks for visiting us by walking through NCR's offices.
Hi, my name's Orlina. I've been working for NCR for 8 years. I'm the administrative assistant.
And here's one of our great volunteers.
My name is Robert Ogren. I'm an archivist here for National Catholic Reporter.
Around the corner. And look who we have here.
I'm Pat Marin, editor of Celebration. I'm the creator of Pope Francis the comic, and when Tom comes in, I always put on my special glasses so I can actually see him, because he's often invisible.
And so now, having met some of the people who bring you NCR, NCR Online, and Global Sisters Report, let's get on with the show. Before we do, remember that when you're leaving today, pick up a copy of NCR. And please continue to support us as we go forward for the next 50 years. Thank you. If any of you has ever questioned the work of the Holy Spirit in the world, question no longer. NCR has made it 50 years. And to our detractors, my sincere apologies. We are equipping ourselves, with your help, to set ourselves in a position to go the next 50. So what we have today is a program that's going to look into the next 50, and I think you're going to appreciate it. So let's enjoy it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you and the staff for putting together that video, and as you can see, it's quite the staff. I'd now like to introduce to you our newest chairman of the Board of Directors of National Catholic Reporter. Tom Bertelsen is a longtime board member from the San Francisco area and was just elected yesterday at our board meeting to be the next chairman. And so, Tom?
Thank you, Caitlin. On behalf of the board of the National Catholic Reporter, I would like to thank you, the NCR team, the people here at Dominican, for organizing a terrific conference. It's our first ever, certainly, for a 50th, but I think the turnout speaks well for your admiration for NCR. We have been celebrating 50 years of service to the church, and I use the word church in the terminology of Vatican II, the people of God. As you know, Tom Fox has played a terrific role in most of those 50 years. I think he's been with us for 35, first as a writer, then an editor, then a publisher. And so we're here today to a great degree because of Tom Fox's accomplishments. Yes. He's provided us with an independent Catholic voice, which is critical to NCR and to our faith. Yesterday, in recognition of that, the board of NCR established the Tom Fox Fund for Independent Journalism in Catholicism. We look forward to the next 50 years, and as a way of kicking off that strategic plan, this fund will be a critical component to ensure the financial stability of NCR for the forthcoming years. One longtime reader and donor has contributed $1 million to kick off this campaign. Believe me, you'll be hearing more about it next year. But in the meantime, thank you, Tom Fox.
Thank you, Tom. And again, you will be hearing more about this campaign because the future of journalism is iffy, but the future of this newspaper and our mission is not. NCR has been blessed for many years with passionate, energetic, and active board members, and so I would like to take just a quick moment to recognize the rest of the board of directors, all of whom came from all over this country to Chicago to attend this event. So if you are a member of the board, could you please just raise your hand so we can acknowledge you? Thank you very much. And now for the fun part of the program. Not that this wasn't fun, Tom and Tom. In your booklets are wonderful and very specific biographies of the individual speakers, and with time, always a consideration in something like this. I'm not going to be reading biographies of our individual speakers. I'll just introduce them. If you want to know more about them, you can certainly read it. Our first speaker, though, I can guarantee you is going to leave you feeling extremely energized by the future of this church. Maria Pilar Aquino.
Good morning. This conference is taking place after a long process of careful preparation. Throughout this process, both the organizers and speakers engaged in fruitful conversation about the thematic content to be addressed. From the outset, we learned that the NCR was interested in exploring the future of the U.S. Catholic Church from different perspectives. The theme, new faces, new voices, new ways of being church, seeks to encompass such interest. As a Latin American feminist Catholic theologian of Mexican origin, I immediately thought about the contributions that religious actors and theologies from the global South are making to a desired future, one in which we all can flourish and live well together. In my intervention, the expression "deep voices from the South" makes a reference to the perspectives which have been and continue to be ignored or left out of the conversation by the dominant Western European global North. This expression also seeks to retrieve and keep alive the concerns of the Second Vatican Council about the deeper longings of humanity for a life of fullness, justice, and freedom. The kind of church envisioned by Gaudium et Spes is that of a universal religious body actively engaged in collaboration with other social and religious actors for the promotion of solidarity, peace, and international social justice. This is a church committed to dialogue and respect of differences, a global community of faith that meets the aspirations of peoples in their joys and hopes, griefs and anxieties, particularly of those who are poor or in any way afflicted. The title and description of my reflection this morning wish to honor both the thematic focus of this conference and the insights of Gaudium et Spes in terms of contribution to shaping the future of the Catholic Church. To this end, rather than pessimism and hopelessness, I declare to you that the deep voices from the South are active and alive in today's world, and that there are reasons for hope. In the current century, new transformative processes have emerged, encompassing social and religious actors, mobilization initiatives, and theological epistemologies, strengthening together the affirmation that another world is possible. From my experience and perspective, contribution to a better future can be illustrated by taking a look at the activities of the World Forum on Theology and Liberation, which takes place at the heart of the World Social Forum. I believe that the work of this forum is crucial for continuing creative imagination and practice in the interest of building a future of justice together. The images and text displayed in the PowerPoint are intended to share with you a bit of this experience. What is the importance of the World Social Forum? It was founded in the year 2001 in Brazil. This is the largest space in the world that gathers every year thousands of organizations of civil society from all continents. Motivated by the shared conviction that another world is possible, intellectuals, students, activists, and non-governmental organizations come together to deliberate, exchange, and devise strategies for constructive transformation. Participants at the forum share in common the values and goals of social justice, human dignity, human rights, and sustainable communities around the world. The very existence of the World Social Forum in a context where unjust societal systems obliterate the hopes of the excluded humanity for dignity and justice is in itself a statement of hope. In today's context, where the global capitalist markets have configured cultures and societies that admit no alternatives, the collective work for just social systems and relationships becomes more important than ever. When a myriad of social and religious actors declare by thought and action that another world is possible, this declaration becomes the organizing platform of lived experiences open to meet the novelties that the world delivers in the form of hopeful alternatives. It also reveals that a desired world of justice and peace is not a chimera produced by deceived minds, but the certainty that historical realities have still more to give of themselves, and that humanity has still to unfold fully its potentialities. For involved actors motivated by religious faith, hope displays
I know, have a seat. No, thanks. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could just have you remain seated for a few minutes until the lights come back on, that'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Hello? 1, 2, 3. Hola. Shall I continue?
Should we try? Is there...
Yeah. I can continue in the PowerPoint. I will continue with my...
You can keep talking.
And the
We'll
PowerPoint
reboot.
will
They'll
come
reboot.
up. Okay.
Sorry.
They are rebooting the PowerPoint. In the meantime, I will continue with my text. Okay? Thank you. I was at the point of saying that a desired world of justice and peace is not something that is far away from our hands, only if we could work together to make it possible. For involved actors motivated by religious faith, hope displays credibility precisely in the very process of shaping alternatives for better conditions of life for all. By the historical dynamics of God's revelation, that process becomes the revelatory site of God's living presence in the world. The World Forum on Theology and Liberation was born at the core of the World Social Forum as a space for theological reflection on the transformative practices of the global justice movement that populates the World Social Forum. It develops, World Social Forum, I was there. All the pictures that you see, I took the pictures myself. So those are my pictures, my own photos. Yeah, that is the beginning of the Arab Spring with his self-immolation in protest, as I explained there. So I spoke with all the people there and I interacted with. So the World Forum on Theology and Liberation it develops concept in understanding from the reflected practices of the social and religious actors who, confronting the challenges of fragmentation and relativism, they seek coordination for the purpose of shifting from a position of systematic subordination to another, one of sociopolitical intervention focused on collaboration in alternatives for constructive social transformation. The World Forum on Theology and Liberation seeks to both support in theological terms the processes of the contemporary global justice movement and contribute to the vision, values, and goals of the World Social Forum. From the perspective of the Forum, action, reflection, transformation for justice, spirituality, and liberation belong together. The intervention of religious actors in the processes of the global justice movement brings to light how one's resolve to build a world fashioned by justice and peace properly emulates the very being of God as a God of life, justice, freedom, and liberation. Theological reflection grounded on such intervention produces ways of understanding infused by a deep hope in humanity and a deep trust in God's promises. Intervention for the advancement of human dignity, human rights, social justice, sustainable communities, and solidarity undertaken by a pluralism of religious actors is taking place around the world, and this is a powerful reason for hope. The deep voices from the South are contributing to fashion a different future through constructive intervention and invite everyone to do the same. Contextualized within the broader panorama of the forums as embodying the contemporary global justice movement, this conference, convened by the NCR, acquires greater relevance. That is why, informed by the thought and work of the forums, I am highlighting next 10 dimensions that I consider to be crucial for a lucid intervention of religious actors in fashioning a more hopeful and liberating future for theology and church. As I have learned from the forums, these are intersecting, mutually enriching dimensions of thought and practice to effect positive change. Let me mention to start with liberation. In connection to the World Social Forum, the World Forum of Theology and Liberation is an open space for the concurrence of contemporary theologies from diverse religious traditions that commit themselves to theological reflection on alternatives and possibilities in the world. Participants in the forum affirm commitment to justice and the option for the poor and the marginalized as base principles of theological practice. The forum does not seek to represent, quote unquote, liberation theology in any contextual modality. Rather, it brings together diverse theologies concerned about the relationship of theology and liberation for the purpose of providing support to to social and religious actors who seek contribution to building together a different future. Second, justice. From a theological perspective, because justice belongs to the very being of God, it emanates from God to fashion both human relationships and the morality of the social order. Palestinian liberation theologian Naim Stefanatik speaks about justice as the most basic cornerstone for life in one's community, nation, and the world. Justice is understood theologically as a life-giving reality, as an envisioned and desired world that sustains the flourishing of humans and creation and actualizes the very being of God as a God of life and liberation. Today's global context of a struggle for human dignity and social justice benefits from and welcomes religious actors to insert oneself in those struggles in proactive ways. The activities and work of the World Forum on Theology and Liberation seeks to facilitate resources for this. It is in this context that I place the work of the NCR. Third, hospitality. We have forgotten about hospitality. For faith-based actors, hospitality emulates the relationship of God to the human, receiving everyone into God's own company for the fullness of life. And this is a definition of revelation according to Second Vatican Council. Hospitality is guided by dialogue as a principle of humanization. While understanding of hospitality may include taking it as a virtue or as a quality of the human, its relevance for theology is that hospitality has to do primarily with relationships characterized by friendship, care, graciousness, compassion, and welcoming of neighbors and strangers. At the forum, we seek to promote such way of living so that we can overcome relationships of hostility, resentment, violence, and hate. Pluralism. The variety and complexity of today's global interactions have established pluralism as an indisputable social and intellectual terrain. Cannot escape it. Pluralism. The World Social Forum embraces this terrain as an opportunity for promoting an ethic of interconnectedness and interdependence and collaboration. This approach clearly rejects modes of knowing and doing that serve the interests of ideological totalitarianism and cognitive imperialism. The forum fosters a political culture of inclusiveness and common action based on compatibility of interests and goals for constructive transformation. Adoption of pluralism does not mean the absence of conflict. Pluralism challenges everyone to embrace conflict creatively. With that, I move on to interreligious dialogue. In response to destructive conflict, situations that have emerged in the contemporary world, some scholars of the social and the political sciences, diplomats, and policymakers, largely based in the US, have promoted interreligious dialogue as a strategy to manage, reduce, dissolve, or prevent those conflicts, particularly when religious beliefs appear to motivate or instigate them. From this perspective, religion has become a matter of national security that cannot be absent from the policymaker's calculus. Hegemonic politics have addressed interreligious dialogue as a mere strategy for social appeasement, at the expense of response to the demands of structural or restorative justice. From the perspective of the World Forum on Theology and Liberation, the most appropriate conceptual frame for any approach to interreligious dialogue is an emancipatory practice grounded on solidarity. The work of theologians in interreligious dialogue emphasize the practical implications of solidarity in terms of contributing together to practices of resistance, transformation, and liberation among the many religious traditions. Interreligious dialogue must be useful for the struggles of the global justice movement rather than serving the national security interests of the militaristic hegemonic powers. With that, I move on to intercultural dialogue. The World Social Forum generates conditions of possibility, as you can see on the slides. We interact a great deal with many cultures and many languages. So conditions of possibility for intercultural dialogue by making possible a social reality in which a multiplicity of actors from a pluralism of cultural environments and worldviews mobilize in the name of another world is possible, seeking its actualization. The shared embracement of liberation, justice, hospitality, pluralism, and interreligious dialogue presupposes a way of thinking that, in the name of alternatives for justice and solidarity, one moves away from homogenizing singularity, such as the one represented by the current neoliberal capitalistic globalization model. While this model pretends to be the single route to the future, by its own structuring, it is incapable of building a common future of justice and living well together, the North and the South, not just the North. Intercultural thought and practice ultimately keeps fostering in its practitioners the option for hope, because, in the words of Raúl Forné Betancourt, a pioneer of intercultural philosophy and theology, intercultural dialogue proposes to be, quote, an alternative to articulate the concrete hopes of everyone who dare to imagine and to rehearse today another possible world, end of quote. Next component, convivencia. Convivencia, living together, convivencia. This is the word in the Spanish language that refers to living together in peace and concord, in solidarity and in mutual support. In the context of the forum, convivencia refers to both an intellective process lived across pluralism and diversity that compels one to promote human flourishing. And it is also understood as a set of relationships lived as positive interactions, grounded on commonly accepted values such as human dignity, community, hospitality, collaboration, gratitude, compassion, and solidarity. Is it possible that people come together around commonality of values? We believe that it is and should be. There's no room for such individualism and coldness as we experience it in the North. While ethical values derive from human consciousness and wisdom, faith practitioners informed them with the symbols and contents of one's own or from one or more religious traditions, because not one single tradition possesses the entire key to convivencia. For everyone, however, convivencia is the outcome of a loving heart. Let me move on to peace building. Peace building and conflict transformation. Today's reality of U.S. society and culture demands, perhaps more than ever before, a strong commitment to educational endeavors by which everyone gains skills and capacities to address conflict situations constructively, not through guns and weapons. While this month opened in Oregon with the 45th school shooting this year, 45th school shooting this year, the mass shooting tracker reports that this year alone, 296 mass shootings have taken place in the U.S. This is the only country in which around the world in which you can see you see that. Something is very wrong in the U.S. At world level, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, is the official institute that reports on developments on war and weapons, Stockholm. It reports that in early 2015, there were more wars in 2014 than any other year since the year 2000. Led by the United States of America, Russia, China, Germany, and France continued to be the largest suppliers of weapons, accounting for 74% of the total global volume of arms exports. Countries of the geopolitical South continue to be the recipients of weapons, in which deadly conflict, tension, anxiety, and insecurity persist. This tragic reality forces religious actors to devise better responses to the question about what kind of a future are we seeking to build. Neither the weapons industry nor inaction by religious actors will bring peace to our schools and world. On its part, the World Forum on Theology and Liberation understands that alternatives for a just world entail strategic responses to overcome destructive conflict, to reinforce links of solidarity against hateful interaction, and to overcome political cultures that declare and accept and live well with guns and weapons as means for human security. In the name of human security, the arms industry grows. Do you know that even in the midst of the crisis, this is not part of my paper, forgive me. In the midst of the worst crisis, financial and economic crisis, the only industry that earned double its gains was the weapons industry in the U.S.? So, we need to do something. Religious institutions can and should promote the elimination of the U.S.-based weapons industry if a peaceful world is to be sustained. We need to become stronger along those lines. The outlets, news outlets, parish education, universities, colleges, we need to do our work in the North and in the South. And this is the point. Let me move on to another issue, a revolutionary spirituality. Luis Carlos Sussin, a Capuchin, you say Capuchin? A Franciscan friar, a theology professor at the Pontifical Catholic University of do Rio Grande do Sul, and he's the General Secretary of the World Forum on Theology and Liberation. He says that an ardent spirituality for this time of transformation can only be revolutionary. The mystic and the prophet require each other. Accordingly, the forum encourages one to understand that ultimately thought and practice for liberation are the expression of a spirituality lived with a prophetic sense as a way to correspond to God's gift of grace and hope. Clearly and directly, Christians can speak of a revolutionary spirituality because it seeks to effect a radical conversion of people's consciences, values, hearts, and behaviors. And this is Evangelii Nuntiandi 1975 Pope Apostolic Letter. Evangelii Nuntiandi 1975, highly recommended. This type of spirituality is relevant, particularly in contexts where society and religion attempt to close off the space for prophecy, hide the martyrs, bury the struggles of people for justice and human rights, and deny the claims of radical transformation for the flourishing of all humans and creation. Christians know that the gospel aims at producing deep, radical transformations to make possible the coming of God's reign, and yes, another world is possible. The next item, and that is feminism. As the social base of feminist theory and theology, the women's movement and feminist organizations populate the World Social Forum in significant ways. From plural social occasions and from many religious traditions, women gather at the forum to support one another in our commitment to advancing women's rights around the world. You should hear my Muslim friends, Muslim women, Muslim feminists. They speak so strong, highly committed. The new generations in countries like Tunisia, as we are seeing here in the northern part of Africa, you should see and be with them. You will say, what are we doing in the Americas? Feminism is dead. Well, might be in your country, not in the South. Very much alive. Feminism. From plural social occasions, women gather to support one another, to advance women's rights, struggling together against social, cultural, and religious patterns of hierarchy, as Professor Suso Fiorenza says. Women are moving from subordination to intervention for constructive change. Many of us no longer accept societal models which are insensitive to or unwilling to meet the fundamental needs of women and children. I always tell my students, when I speak about these things, don't think about the well-off communities that we have. Think globally. Always think globally. Think about Africa. Think about Latin America. Think about Central America. Think about Oceania. Think about the poorest nations of Asia. Think globally. Many of us no longer tolerate the pattern of women's exclusion from sacramental ministry. We continue to devise alternatives of global justice for women because we believe that another religion and church are possible. Finally, with this I close. Cultivation of gratitude is also crucial for strengthening recognition and appreciation for those individual and institutional actors whose dedicated work for human dignity, social justice, and inclusiveness continues to make possible new ways of being church. Clearly, the NCR has become a source of inspiration, a trusted source of information for the global communities engaged in shaping alternatives for society, theology, and church. I see the NCR as a living force within the global justice movement, concerned with valuing positively the voice of the disadvantaged and the marginalized. Much like the World Forum on Theology and Liberation, the contributions of the NCR are demonstrating both that the status quo no longer stands undisputed, and that in the name of religion, no one has permission to neglect work for peace, justice, and solidarity. Because of its dedication to promote intervention together for an alternative world of justice, the NCR generates gratefulness and gratitude. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Dennis Cody, the editor of National Catholic Reporter. Thank you. Thank you very much for being with us here today for this celebration. Professor Aquino, thank you very much for that talk. I note that you end it with a challenge directly to me, I feel, as the editor of National Catholic Reporter, to be a living force within the global justice movement. I accept your challenge. You know, I think you state very clearly that in this conference dedicated to looking forward, that is the future. The future is global, and the future is an interwoven community working for justice. And my hope would be that NCR would be right there in the middle of that. What I want to do is just point out a couple of things here. This isn't exactly a coherent speech on my part, but just a couple of things, some personal family things. First, I realized this as our videotape was running here that Tom put together. One thing I'd like to say is that Dawn Arujo, who is the reporter for Global Sisters Report, she's actually getting married today, even as we are gathered here this morning. So for Dawn and Nick, let's send our prayers and blessings to them as they begin a new family life together. Another thing, I didn't see this until just this morning. Another reporter that you were introduced to there, a Bertelsen intern, Soli Sagado, who has been with us since early summer and will be with us for about a year. Soli actually she's Argentinian by birth, and we took great advantage of that and sent her down to Buenos Aires and interviewed people that knew Pope Francis when he was Archbishop Bergoglio. That appeared in our paper in September. Soli introduced herself, and if you look just behind her on her desk, there's a photograph of NCR veteran correspondent from Latin America, Penny Lerneau. You know, so again, I see that as a very symbolic way of NCR living on the foundation that was built 50 years ago and going into the future. Penny and Soli walking together. My gosh, what an image that was for me. A couple other things. I think if you listen carefully to the other speeches you're going to hear today, the interventions, listen for Professor Pilar's, the phrase she used was confronting fragmentation. I think that's going to be a reoccurring theme that we're going to hear today, confronting fragmentation. The other thing, again, Professor Pilar's commentary on the weapons industry, very, very powerful. And again, from the standpoint of the newspaper editor, what do we do about that? And I would like to just point out that in the issue of the paper, I think that was passed out today, the back cover, our editorial page, NCR has done what it can to stand in solidarity with faith groups that are working to end gun violence in this country, and have pointed out in a series of editorials and reporting over the last 3 years very practical steps that could be taken in this country to begin to work towards the end of gun violence. And so again, I hope that's part of being a living force for that justice movement. That's what we're about. That's an issue that we're going to stand with and be together with. And again, within that story, what you heard, Professor Pilar talked about the World Forum on Theology and Liberation, and she talked about how that was an organization that was working for a coalition, working for action, reflection, and transformation for justice and liberation. And going back to that issue of guns and the weapons industry on a very local level, we're supposed to think globally but act locally. Again, we highlighted a movement, Faiths United to Prevent Gun Violence. Again, what is that? It's exactly what Professor Pilar described. It is an interfaith group. It is an intercultural group. It's a group that cuts across race lines, across economic lines, and it brings people together. And those are the kind of stories that I want NCR to be highlighting, to working on for the next 50 years as we go forward. Just the last thing, just real quickly, again, this is a common theme I think you're going to hear up throughout the rest of the day, and that's the issue of feminism. Women, specifically in our case, women in the Catholic Church. We do an inadequate job of addressing that in our pages and in our website. It's an issue that I always hope that we can do better with. Another one short anecdote. Tom Fox tells me that the entire newsroom is gearing up for this papal trip that was coming. And it was an extraordinary, tense time just because the logistics of it were incredibly complicated. And so Tom came to me and he says, Dennis, I want to do something. I've never asked you to do anything, but I'm asking for this. And I thought he wants in on the papal trip, right? No. Tom says, I want to go to Philadelphia. I want to cover the Women's Ordination Conference in Philadelphia. I think, and I told this in an interview with the Kansas City Star that comes out this week. For me, the papal trip was a sideshow. It was sandwiched between two of the most important events that very, very few other people paid attention to. One was that gathering of women in Philadelphia for the Women's Ordination Conference. And the second was the Synod of Families that's unfolding today. The trip to the United States was a sideshow. Very important things happened there, and we'll come back to that in later issues of the paper. But it's the foundation of laity and family that's being discussed at the Synod, and the issue of women in the church that sandwich bookend that visit. That's what NCR is about. That's what we're going to cover. And thank you very much. I just want to say one thing. Our next intervention person here, Miriam Williams, is going to speak up. Miriam is, her biography's in the booklet, but also, just so you know, she's a weekly columnist for us. Every Monday, she writes a column that appears on our website called At the Intersection, where she explores faith, feminism, and race. So Miriam, please. Thank you.
I got an earlier draft of Professor Aquino's talk, and there was so much, and it was so thorough that it was hard to think of something that I could say in about 5 minutes. So one thing that really stood out to me was her quote, "One's resolve to build a world fashioned by justice and peace properly emulates from the very being of God as a God of life, justice, freedom, and liberation." And I thought, this should be obvious, right? Just based on a very basic reading of the Bible. We know, for example, that the fruits of the Spirit include love, peace, and kindness. We know the verse faith, hope, charity, or love, these three, but the greatest of these is love. She who the Son sets free is free indeed. Live justly, love mercy, and walk honorably before your God. It should be obvious. But one's resolve to build a world fashioned by justice and peace competes intensely with one's perceived needs and with one's desire to feel included in a society built on neoliberalism and global capitalism. We have to acknowledge that we live in a money-driven society and that this desire for wealth, often combined with white supremacy and misogyny, has helped human beings justify doing terrible things to each other, things that we haven't finished doing. For example, about 10 years ago, I learned something I didn't know about what happens when businesses in the US ship jobs to Mexico. I knew that the businesses could pay the workers less, but I didn't know that poor, rural young women leaving their homes for their third shift factory jobs were routinely raped, often by drug gangs, and many were murdered. Capitalism and misogyny meet there. But the other side of that might be the young women's desire to help provide for the family or their aspirations to save money for school, because school leads to more opportunity and that leads to a better life for the family. And even though better probably has as much to do with material wealth as it does safety, there's nothing wrong with aspiration. There's nothing wrong, we've been taught, with seeking out a good deal. If you were willing to buy a cheap house in a deteriorating neighborhood and 10 years later you sell it for 3 times what you paid for it because now the neighborhood is quote unquote up and coming, you did something right. You didn't know the increase in property values were going to displace people who had lived there for 30 years, but you did what we're taught to do: settle down, buy a house, make a smart, safe investment, because those are good things. So how can we compete with that? And I hear from Professor Aquino that the answer lies in accepting and perhaps adopting, but not appropriating, that's a different discussion altogether, ways of worshiping, working, and living together, ways that get at our humanity, pay workers fairly across the globe, discourage fearing a dark-skinned other, and don't center white cis male heterosexuals as the norm. Ways that embrace people of various genders and sexual orientations without first trying to force them to conform to how we think is the right way to be. Ways that redefine right, but that are still very much in keeping with Christian definitions of God and morality. And honestly, this is no easy task if we want to hold on to Christianity. When Africa and what we now know as South America, Central America, and the Caribbean were colonized, Europeans destroyed entire indigenous cultures that existed. And while I won't say that these ways of living always and consistently worked for everyone in their societies, I will say that they worked better than genocide. And if we're going to grassroots organize the world, I think it requires that pluralism, that interreligious, intercultural dialogue that Professor Aquino talked about, and figuring out how beliefs and systems that we consider too foreign, unbiblical, and perhaps even wrong can blend with Christianity. And some of that is in practice now. When it came to religion and rituals, Africans in the Caribbean, South America, and to some extent the US South were able to disguise their traditions and blend them with Roman Catholicism. We see this in a number of Creole religions practiced in the African diaspora, like Santeria and some Orisha traditions. But scholars of such traditions caution against doing what we've always done, that is, legitimizing these practices by accentuating their Roman Catholic elements and not giving equal value to the African or indigenous elements. Now, there have been many attempts made by African Americans, people whose ancestors arrived to the Western Hemisphere as property to be sold, to reconnect to their African roots, to ask, who were we before enslavement? What was life like for our people? Who or what did we worship? How did we see ourselves before whites entered the space and brought their beliefs, customs, modes of dress, and their perceptions of us to us? Now, statistically, the Catholic Church of the future looks like the pre-colonial global South. How can looking back, as we find new ways of being church, allow people to rediscover who they are and help all of us to live in a better, not defined by capitalism society? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Aquino, Dennis, and Mariam. That was terrific. Well, we at NCR have always had issues with power. So why not today? But because of that, we are having our first break, and because of that little interruption, I'm going to make a bit of a plea. If you do need to take a break, then please do so. We encourage you to do so. But if you really don't, I'm going to ask you to sort of stay around here, because it is 15 minutes, and we'll be ringing that bell pretty hard because we do want to continue with the day. And I know a lot of you are curious about the building assignments for lunch. That will be explained to you before lunch, not after. So just hang tight on that. And also don't forget, if you want to fill out index cards, ask questions, offer thoughts, we want to collect them. So thank you very much. 15 minutes, starting now.